Hello Game fans, I'm once again cutting it a little close with this coverage of games in December, but with how busy Game of the Year stuff was, I hope you understand. Games in December traditionally get completely drowned out due to the holidays, which makes it ripe for hidden gems, once again using my arbitrary definition of under 500 Steam reviews. We begin with Orwell's Animal Farm, a narrative adventure game based on the classic book from George Orwell. This was compulsory reading for me in school, so it was interesting to see it translated into something interactive, where the developers of Reigns managed to convince the Orwell estate to work with them on this project. If you're not familiar, it's a satirical take on politics, commenting on the climate of the 1940s, and is a fairly important and influential book. There are of course parallels that can be drawn to modern day, so it's certainly worth a read, or failing which, this interactive version is not too bad either. While it does allow you to make some choices with different endings, the overall gist of the story cannot really be changed all that much, but it's an interesting way to experience a classic piece of literary history.
Beasts of England, beasts of Ireland, beasts of every land and clime, hearken to my joyful tidings of the golden future time.
Mython Island is basically Pokemon but as a roguelite, so take out all the overworld exploration, swapping that with choices, but retaining the turn-based combat and variety in the creatures called Mythons here. I love both monster taming RPGs and roguelites, so this did get my attention, and while there are some rough edges, I do think that it has potential to develop even more in early access. Ignis Universia Eternal Sisters Saga DX deserves a mention, since this pixel art JRPG is pretty good all things considered, and the best part is that it's free, so give it a go. It's fun, short, and pretty well written, being a cheeky nod to JRPG classics, but you don't have to sink hundreds of hours into this, so even if you're new to this genre, I would recommend giving it a go. Always down to check out side-scrolling Souls-like platformers, so Until the End didn't get on my radar, and I think it's of interest. You're on a simple quest, get back home to your family, but unfortunately, in the way are monsters and beasts alike. The combat is the central element here, having to time, react, attack, dodge, and parry being one of the best examples of the Dance of Death. Do note that it's not an RPG, even though there are items and an inventory, but it does have a good feeling combat system. However, there are complaints of difficulty and the cheapness of enemy designs, but if you like something challenging, this is one to check out. The open-world sandbox scavenging and crafting title has become a genre unto itself, with examples like Terraria being excellent ones, where Tinkertown hopes to enter this space as well. It's more of an action title, where you adventure and go on missions to defeat monsters, but there's plenty of building and crafting as well. Chop trees, mine rocks, fish, and more, with multiplayer support for up to 4 players, making this fun with friends, and I do want to see what they add in early access. An impressive-looking pixel art adventure game is Nine Witches Family Disruption, set in World War II, where the occult division of the Germans released an ancient curse upon the world, and it's up to a professor and his assistant to save the day. It's well written with clever puzzles, which is what you would want in an adventure game, with this spooky, occult atmosphere being conveyed nicely with the combination of the art and music. You can also talk to the dead in this to help you save the world, and it's a cannot miss for fans of the genre. It's not often that a developer releases 2 good games in a year, but House of God happens to be exactly that, an action roguelite that looks cool as hell from the developer of the boss rush title Ita. Trippy visuals aside, great looking action, almost Hotline Miami-esque in some places, so if you do love that game, do give this a go.
For 400 years, the free people of Arzu fought a losing war against the forces of Umbra, the Dark Moon. To turn the tide, the Great Spirits ultimately created the Apex, an artifact of untold power. As the Scorched Army stormed Valoria, Arzu's last bastion of defense, the champion Taliana triggered the Apex, giving her life to save Arzu. In the blink of an eye, she put an end to 4 centuries of war. In revenge, the Dark Moon rained destruction upon Arzu. The Great Spirits built the Arcanium, a magic citadel powered by the Apex, designed to shield the skies from Umbra's relentless assault. Thanks to Taliana's noble sacrifice and the protection of the Arcanium, the people of Arzu finally knew peace. Now that Taliana was lost, Umbra chose its own champion to wield the Apex. Akhan the Calamity was Umbra's chosen one. Along with the cult of Umbra, Akhan desired to bring about a new dark age for their master. After a long destructive search, Akhan at last found the Arcanium, and within, the Apex itself. When Arzu's protective shield fell, the shards of Umbra rained down on the land and its inhabitants. Wherever the shards fell, the corruption spread through the land and the people upon it. Akhan now controls the corrupted beasts from his throne in the Arcanium. He has become the voice of Umbra. In order to survive this evil threat, the spirits have chosen new champions to hunt down the Apex and destroy Akhan once and for all. This time, it will take the survival of the fittest to restore balance, embark on an epic journey across Arzu, and save the world from destruction.
Lengthy narrated trailer and gorgeous art aside, ARCANIUM Rise of Akhan is a single-player roguelite deck builder where you put multiple characters into play, and as a big fan of this subgenre, it did get my attention. Your party of 3 heroes have their own abilities, equipment, upgrades and more, and having to manage and balance these is central to your success, but if any one of them succumbs to the corruption, your journey will be over. There's meta progression for individual heroes which keeps you playing, with procedural generation in the maps and story events which keeps things interesting. Still in early access but a fantastic first step, I'll be keeping an eye on this myself. Just talked about Colossus Down getting console ports this week, but this beat-em-up from the creators of the darkly humoured adventure game Agatha Knife is pretty interesting and worth checking out. The premise is simple: our heroes just want to destroy everything that isn't cool using a giant mech and a satanic Greek bleeding pig in order to do so. It does also have a variety of gameplay experiences, including shoot 'em up to platformer, although it's not as egregious as, say, Battletoads remake from last year, and was well paced enough to be fun. While the art may not be for everyone, looking a little, shall we say, flash game-like in nature, it nonetheless does work and is a true gem made even better with a friend. Stealth games are difficult to come by, let alone good stealth games, but I'm happy to report that El Hijo, a Wild West tale, is exactly that. It's a non-violent entry, where you're not sneaking up on people and snapping their necks or stabbing them, but as a mischievous young boy, you must use your wits in order to progress along in your journey to search for your mother. Excellent spaghetti western theme conveyed beautifully through the levels, art and music, So not much more to say other than this deserves a recommendation.
Crashed the Earth and left for Mars, but I think there's still hope. Hey, my name is Ellen, and welcome to my new home. I know it's a bit dirty now, but there's nothing that my special vac pal can't clean.
The setup for No Place Like Home was explained quite nicely, but as a fan of farming and life sim titles, of course this has my interest. Set in somewhat of a post-apocalypse where the earth has been absolutely trashed, scavenge, recycle and clean up the village to restore it to its former glory, since there's no place like home, being quite the timely reminder for all of us as well.
Friendly workshop. Or I could use these potatoes to make new fluffy friends. But I guess I will need something more for my robot allies. With just a bit of exploration, I am sure I can find new items and new friends that can help me on my quest. I can't wait to restore this environment, rebuild the community, and turn this place into green heaven. You know, there is no place like home.
Playing as a shopkeeper in games is one of my favourite things, especially in a fantasy setting where you yourself have to go adventure and to get materials to craft whatever it is you're selling, so Magic Potion Millionaire was up my alley. It's an action platformer management sim hybrid, being one part exploration and combat, and one part brewing and selling potions, nailing that compelling gameplay loop of selling potions for money to get more upgrades to adventure in tougher dungeons. This, combined with great pixel art, makes it a no-brainer. The Japanese-style action-adventure RPG title, Eternal Radiance, actually comes to us from a Taiwanese developer, but is absolutely spot on with the art, combat and look. Play as a young squire who wants to become a knight, having to chase down a thief and a mysterious artifact in order to do so. Accompanying her are an archer and a mage, which, of course, is your three pillars of any standard party composition, so nothing too innovative or crazy, but well made nonetheless. While not as polished as something like the East series from Nihon Falcom, for a small indie title, it's pretty impressive. Add one more roguelite to the list with The Wind and the Wilting Blossom, a roguelite strategy title where you traverse across Japan battling yokai. With the hex grids, this reminded me of one of my favourite games of all time in Heroes of Might and Magic 3, but it does have this awesome art style that is inspired by classic Japanese paintings. As such, very unique and super cool, giving it a high spot. I do also have to give a very special mention to Fogs, which did actually make my Hidden Gems of the Year list, so here it is once again. You and up to one other person play as a two-headed dog, travelling through the worlds of very dog things like food, sleep, and play, working together to solve puzzles in order to progress. It's just so bright, so colourful and so whimsical, which made me love it, but the sheer variety and ideas in this are worth a mention as well. Super cute and best with a friend, it was something pleasant to end off a terrible year in 2020, but if you're looking for something light-hearted and warm, check this out, taking the number 1 spot. To see more of the big picture, check out these awesome videos and I will see you after the jump.